This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with Pedro Jermaine, who is the Vice President of the Real Rosewood Foundation. And today we are going to talk about an upcoming event that is going to be held or sponsored here, hosted at I will let Pedro tell you about it. It's going to be hosted at a museum here. So Pedro is going to give you the details, and he's going to tell you who he is and what active part that he plays in the Real Rosewood Foundation. Pedro, friend.
So as Lizzie stated, I'm Pedro Jermaine. I'm the Vice President and Resident Artist of the Real Rosewood Foundation. And I met Lizzie back in 2016 at a Rosewood reparations banquet at the Hilton.
And the rest is history.
That's what we always say.
Yes, and we have an event, a special event. Because I met Pedro in 2016, so many things, good, positive things have taken place or has happened for our foundation. Pedro is the resident artist, and he is also the resident artist or the artist for FIU.
Florida International University's annual MLK commemorative celebration.
Yes, and you also work with Congresswoman
Frederica S. Wilson.
Okay. And who else? But anyway, because of Pedro, I have been able to network with FIU, and we are moving, or we are doing what?
When did I introduce you to FIU? That would have been
2018? We met in 2016.
Yep, the banquet was in 2018. It could have been around 2018.
2018. He introduced me to FIU.
FIU, Florida International University, yes.
And the faculty there
Eventually, we began discussing the possibility of working with the Real Rosewood Foundation, Florida International University did.
Yes.
And we discussed the possibility of an exhibition.
Yes. Yes, yes. And that's where we are now. That exhibition was in...
We kicked off the Patricia and Philip Ross Art Museum at FIU, kicked off the inaugural exhibition January 2023 in honor of Rosewood Centennial.
Yes. And it was there for
4 months.
4 months, and after leaving FIU,
it went to the Hannibal Square Heritage Center in Winter Park, Florida.
And now it is...
We discussed, and we finally got it all approved, figured out it would be at Gainesville Fine Arts Association.
Yes.
February 22nd.
Okay.
2024, this year. But the reception, the artist walk reception, the art walk reception will be February 23rd, beginning at 7 p.m. So that's the reception. That's when you have all the guests. You'll do your meet and greet. You'll get to meet everyone.
Okay, so that's why we're here today, to invite you all to the upcoming February 22nd launch. The launch is on the 22nd and the reception on the 23rd. Did I get it right?
The launch on the 22nd and the art walk reception is on the 23rd at 7 p.m. Gainesville Fine Arts Association.
And the address, 1314 South Main Street. The public is invited, especially the students, parents, and students but we are concentrating on the students, the next generation, to help us carry this information, American history, uh, to the next generation. We want to keep it alive. We want to preserve it. And what is it called? We are calling it the Elegy to Rosewood.
An Elegy to Rosewood.
An Elegy to Rosewood, which has traveled far and throughout the world, and in one country for sure was Japan. And I know that because I was talking to my friend one day, and she said, "Liz, what in the heck are you doing in my living room?" She was watching the television, and I said, "What?" She said, "What are you doing in my living room?" She said, "What is an Elegy for Rosewood?" And we started talking. And I said, "Wow, it has gone national." She said, not only national," she said, international.
Mm-hmm.
Because my friend, I have a friend in Japan who has told me about the elegy, an Elegy to Rosewood. So we are back to square one, back home, where we are going to re-energize, and we're going to take it
And get the exhibit together. Yes. People be surprised how much work went into it.
exactly.
It was years worth of like conversing and emails and
Yes.
pulling the correct artifacts together. So much work goes into it.
And FIU is credited with the groundwork, and the Frost Museum are responsible, or should be credited with
As
funding.
stated, I do have it here for FIU.
Yes.
As stated, An Elegy to Rosewood is an exhibition with materials developed by the Patricia and Philip Frost Art Museum, FIU, in collaboration with the Real Rosewood Foundation.
Yes. They have done an excellent job. And it's all about keeping the Rosewood history alive. And as I told Pedro a minute ago, this show is really about Rosewood history. Okay. And we also have the opportunity, or we take the opportunity to talk about other entities that's important to history. Not only are we talking about Rosewood history, we sometimes talk about the massacres, all of the massacres, which started in the 17th century, and we do have copies of that to confirm that. However, our concentration today and coming February is the Rosewood, an elegy to Rosewood is and it's about Rosewood history. And like I said, Pedro, thanks to him, he has been there for us, working hard and bringing in support from Tower Hill.
Tower Hill Insurance supported, yes.
Tower Hill Insurance support, and that is where you work. I hope I'm not getting you in trouble. But a shout out and a thank you to Tower Hill, because they have been there ever since 2018 also, working with us. So history is who we are, and together we can keep it alive. And we have something special coming up, and I'm getting ahead of us. But in March 9th, we have reached out to the white Rosewood descendants, and we're bringing them in from Texas. Okay, the sheriff, great granddaughter, the sheriff of Levy County in 1923, when the Rosewood Massacre happened. His great granddaughter, his granddaughter will be flying in from Texas, and she's going to be a part of our upcoming Women's History Month in March 9th, 2024. Not only is she coming to help us celebrate the John Wright, the store merchant nieces are traveling here from Jacksonville. Also, Mary Jane Hall, who is John Wright's wife, so it's Mary Jane Hall Wright. Great niece is traveling from New York, and they are going to be a part of this history. It has nothing to do with an elegy to Rosewood, but it has a lot to do with Rosewood history. And to let you all know that we are trying to bring us together so that we can talk about one American history. Because, as we say, history is who we are. And without history, we are nothing. So keep your ears open for that event that will be coming up. I thought this was an appropriate time to share that. Okay, as I was saying, we are expecting a big crowd at the upcoming Elegy to Rosewood at the Fine Arts
Gainesville Fine Arts Association.
Gainesville Fine Arts Association, which will take place February 23rd,
7 p.m.
7 p.m. And the public, especially our school kids, are invited to participate and learn about history, not only Rosewood history. It's a museum and it has other histories.
But you know, it's going to be very cool for them, seeing the actual artifacts. That's going to be the cool part.
I can't hear you, Pedro.
Seeing the actual artifacts, the things you have, all the family heirlooms and things you have from your family. Okay. They have been passed down.
Yes, you have my permission to say that. You don't have to say it to me, say it to. Yes, they will have a first-hand experience to see the heirlooms and artifacts handed down from my family. And if you notice, I just told you about the sheriff, the Levy County sheriff, that was present during the 1923 massacre. He is responsible for bringing these artifacts to my aunt because they burned the town down. However, before they burned the town down, the sheriff supervised. He didn't supervise the burning. He could not control the burning, but he protected my aunt's house. And when they were ready, the mob, the KKK, the people that had invaded Rosewood was attempting to steal or burglarize my aunt's house. He said to them, no, don't touch anything in this house. Everything in this house belongs to me. I'm taking it. He got from her house, he got 2 pillowcases from her bedroom or from wherever, filled it with as much of her personal items as he possibly could, and Zinto put them in his car and drove them to Archer. And I would often ask my mom, how did he know where my aunt lived? My mom said, because my aunt, the Rosewood school teacher, was from Archer. My mother said not only did he know where she lived, he knew where everybody that lived in Rosewood lived. And that's why he was able to work hard and to save so many lives during this critical time when the massacre was going on. And the reason I know for a fact that these things came from Rosewood, my aunt collected handkerchiefs. And I have a compartment or folder wherein she has handkerchiefs in it. And one day, Stephanie Birch was going through these artifacts with me. She said to me, what is wrapped in this little handkerchief? I said, I don't know. So she opened it up. The string, the 1923 string that my aunt wrapped it in, is still on it today, on that wrapping today. She opened it up, to our surprise, because I hadn't ever opened it. I was never curious enough to open it. She opened it and she said, Liz, these are baby boots. And sure enough, they were baby boots. Okay? The one thing that I was just devastated. The first thing came to my mind, was she pregnant? Did she have a miscarriage? I couldn't ask my mom because my mom was no longer living. So we just assumed that she may have been pregnant. Okay? And may have had a miscarriage. But those boots I still have, and I will not let them out of my eyesight. Okay, they are so precious. And just other items that he brought, money, letters, you name it, I have it. And this is going to make the museum, the real museum, our real Rosewood Museum, that's going to be in Archer. It's going to make it so authentic because we have real artifacts and heirlooms. And what we're showing you at the
Lizzie, what you're showing at an Elegy to Rosewood is just the tip of the iceberg. You have a ton of heirlooms that have been passed down.
Thank you.
So going through it and selecting was quite a tedious process.
And were you there?
I was there because the photographer, Ray Jackson,
Yes.
did a very good job on creating the digital archive for online viewers who could tour the exhibit online, virtually.
Exactly. And see, this is why I needed you here. Keep talking.
So a few things that you'll see like reading glasses as part of the exhibit, a shaving mirror, that was pretty neat, actual wallpaper from the John Wright house.
Yes.
And one of the things I really liked was that old family Bible. You always talk about that Bible.
Yes.
That Bible is so tattered.
It is tattered and torn, and those scriptures in there that my grandfather wrote, oh my God, it brings back living during those days. And that Bible is the Bible that I learned to read because, back then there were no books to ban, so we didn't have any books. We read from catalogs, newspaper articles, and the Bible. Awesome. And my mom and her family, my grandfather, 10 children, and they had a loft, upstairs loft. And thanks. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
That's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida and America's Black
History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Pedro Jenkins. We are here with Pedro Jermaine. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Special thanks to Greg Bradley, Allstate Insurance. Okay. Where did I stop?
We were talking about all of the heirlooms.
Okay, we are talking about all of the heirlooms that we have to share with you at the upcoming event, and those that will be shared at the Rosewood Museum. That is going to be, the Real Rosewood Museum will be located in Archer on 29 acres, where the teacher was reared, born, and grew up. A lot of people think that because she taught in Rosewood, that she's from Rosewood. No, she is Archer, Alachua County. That's where she is from. And she returned home after the Rosewood Massacre. As I said to you, the sheriff made sure when she returned home, as much of her personal items he could confiscate, he brought them home to her at Archer, where she stayed for 6 months after the Rosewood Massacre, not knowing if her husband was dead or alive. She suffered the agony of defeat. She told my mother, her favorite sister that she named, her entire life story in Rosewood and what happened to her. She was angry, bitter. She never got over it. She ran for 25 years after the Rosewood Massacre, hiding and escaping the mob who tortured her for the rest of her life, and she hated them. She died hating them. She wished death upon them because they mistreated her. But Mom told me, you must research, authenticate, and tell Sister's story. My mother referred to her as Sister. So I am still today, 30 plus years later, telling Sister's story, which is my aunt, story, the real story about Rosewood. And it's not easy for me either, but we must know it. We must preserve history so that it will not, what, Pedro?
Repeat itself.
Repeat itself. Why? If it repeats itself, okay, then our work is in
vain.
Is in vain.
Yes.
So together, we are reaching out to the world to bring all of us together, okay, to make sure that Rosewood history is forever archived, saved, pronounced, okay? And when I say pronounced, I mean that it's not forgotten. We will remember it so that we can make Archer the capital of peace, healing, and reconciliation. Because if we don't save it and keep it and pass it on to the next generation, as I often say, then no one else is going to do it. It's not only Black history, it's Americans' history.
Which is exactly how I stated it in the release.
I didn't hear you.
That's exactly how I stated it in the release, the social media release.
Okay, for the upcoming event.
Mm-hmm. I said American history.
It is, and that's what it is. It's American history. Okay. Anything else you would like to add to our...
I'm just grateful that you invited me to be on this journey.
And
I mean, I was nervous at first. I was nervous.
would you like to tell people how we met? Where you've already said where?
Oh, at the Hilton?
Yes.
I was attending the reparations banquet, and I see all these people approaching Lizzie. I knew about the movie Rosewood. I didn't know Lizzie. But everyone's so excited to meet Lizzie, and I'm like, wow, well, she must be somebody important. And so out of a crowd of like, I don't know, several hundred people, you called me over to your table. I don't know how. You spotted me in the crowd and called me over. I don't know. It's just fate, I guess. I don't know.
Fate.
Yep, so I go over and we started talking, and you learned about my past, my dealings in art, what have you, and you asked me if I'd like to be first resident artist of the Real Rosewood Foundation. I mean, I don't think Lizzie needs a background check. She just like invites people, so.
And they come over and they participate.
Yes. So, and this is how the painting Hope Prevails came about.
Yes.
That's how I talked about creating, I guess, a visual reference for the foundation. And that's where we started discussing the creation of the painting Hope Prevails, and that's where it started. And that was actually in 2016 we started discussing it. And the painting wouldn't be unveiled until the banquet in 2018.
Yes.
That's actually how long it took to execute the painting.
Yes.
Because I really had to get an understanding of Rosewood history, the people, so. Mm-hmm. And you taught me through all of that because I almost quit.
Oh, really? Now
yes,
you tell me.
I was on the verge. I was afraid to do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you just want to do it justice.
Okay, I understand.
And you don't want to offend people. That's a very sensitive topic, so you just kind of careful about how you, I guess, execute that in a painting. Because everything does not translate well in painting.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of research and understanding before I actually executed the actual painting itself. Executing the painting was the easy part. That was like 3 weeks. Uh-huh. Planning for it was the hard part. That was like a year or so.
Wow. And when we unveiled it,
yes,
come at the banquet?
In 2018 at our banquet, yes. The Rosewood Gala.
Complete?
Silence.
Wow.
And I wasn't sure what to think. When you're on the stage with complete silence for like 2 or 3 minutes, you're just like, how do they really hate this or they really want it?
And I was standing there and was the leader, and people were watching me, and I was watching them and the painting and Pedro.
And I whispered from the stage, I'm like trying to whisper, Lizzie, are you guys okay? And you're like, oh no, we love it.
Yeah. And applause. Everybody loved it.
It's the most nerve-wracking thing I've done in my life.
Oh, really? Yes. Well, you can't tell it. You can't tell it.
No, I kept my composure.
You did.
Yeah.
You
It was
do.
either that or run off the stage. I just.
And there were no running. Okay, no running in the house. And I remember that as if it was yesterday.
And I'm so excited that we get to exhibit this painting at the GFA event. Moving that painting around is some work.
yes.
People, it's a lot of work to move because you need to get a special van or vehicle to move it because it's like, what, 4 by 5 feet? And that's without the frame. If they had a frame to it, now it's a little over 4 by 5 feet. So
Right. And who provided the frame?
Michael's donated the frame.
Michael's donated the frame,
Yes.
and Don, you worked with Don Gertman.
Yes, Dawn Gertman, yes.
Yes.
Who was a spokesperson for Michael. She helped me unveil it at the gala in 2018.
Exactly. And she was looking at me too, and I was looking at her. We didn't know what to say. We were just spellbound. I mean, the picture is something else. And it tells the entire story of Rosewood just looking at the picture, but you have to understand the story to be able to envision what really happened. And people don't know, but that's a picture of my aunt, or an imaginary picture of her leading the kids and the adults to the train track, to the railroad track, to board that train from Rosewood
Yes.
to Archer was the first stop.
Archer.
And Archer, as I said, is my aunt's hometown. Her uncle, her mom's brother, owned a taxicab company. Just think 1923, taxicab company, which was one car. He was the only the taxi driver in Archer. The cost to, I guess, walk and get him or make contact to get in touch with him, the cost for the ride was 25 cents. And that was a lot of money back then, but that's what his customers had to pay, 25 cents. I have a picture of him. He was my favorite uncle because he gave me my first purse when I was a little kid. But you know what? I am the person in my family, in the entire family, that I'm more than sure God appointed me to be this person that I am. And Pedro, that's why I was able to select you out of a crowd of people, of several hundred people in that Hilton,
Yes.
that particular night. I didn't know you from, as they say, Adam House Cat, but I remember there was something about you that touched me. And I just pointed at you, beckoned.
And I ended up sitting at your table that night.
You ended up sitting at my and the rest is history.
Now, an interesting part about the story of Rosewood is you talk about them fleeing into the nearby woods to escape the massacre, the burning in the massacre. You talk about how they had to hide in those woods. It was like very cold that night.
Yes.
What, like 20 degrees probably?
Yes.
And
yes.
it's wet. Marshland kind of
Yes,
wet. And you said
yes.
some they didn't have shoes.
Exactly.
And they're hiding in the woods. And you said they couldn't have lanterns because that would give away their location.
Exactly.
And they had to be quiet.
Yes.
And you said they were out there for like days. They could have been.
Yes, I know a whole night they were out there trying.
Maybe
to,
a day or two out there in that cold.
Right. Well, yeah, a day or two in that cold. Sure, from they left it on the 2nd. The massacre happened on the 1st. They were hidden out by John Wright in his store and house the night of the 1st and the 2nd. And some of them did not go to his house. Some of them just started walking through, the swamp, seeking freedom and safety. Okay, so it was history making, ugly history making. But through it all, many of them survive, and that's why we're able to tell their stories. There are more than one foundation. Each survivor has a different story, and they told that story to their family members as they remembered it. So we can't say, oh, they're not telling the truth, or Liz, that story is not the same as yours. It's not supposed to be the same, okay? Because they had different experiences, okay? And like you just said that you didn't know what to say or what to do. I met a young lady in 2023 in Ocala, wherein I talked about Rosewood, and this little lady was there. she came up to me before I spoke and said, Mrs. Jenkins, my name is Mosley, and I am so glad to meet you. She said, my great grandfather was the governor of Florida in 1923 when the Rosewood Massacre happened. I said, wow, I am glad to meet you. Would you like to talk about it tonight and I introduce you after? She said, no. She was hesitant. She did not want people, just probably how you felt, she didn't want people to gauge her or think that she had anything to do with Rosewood. And she said to me with her little voice trembling, I loved my grandfather. And I said to her, you were supposed to love your grandfather. That's your grandfather. But I don't know what, don't worry about that. Okay? That was your grandfather. I don't know what happened, what he did. And it's not important to me. I said, what is most important, you are here, you're loving your grandfather. And she did not speak. But I met her this year again, and I have been talking to her. She is one of the people that is going to attend this March 9th meeting. And I asked her the same question. Would you like to speak? Of course, I love to speak and share with my, share about my grandfather. It's because I have encouraged her. That's your grandfather. No one can change that. You are supposed to love him. And she is going to stand. She said, well, it will not be long, but I will let people know that he is my grandfather. So she is coming. She has gotten over the fear that someone was going to attack her or criticize her for being the daughter of the governor. So
we actually do have a word from Gainesville Fine Arts Association that we'll read on behalf of Katie. She did send it. And from GFAA, Gainesville Fine Arts Association, we want to support the Real Rosewood Foundation and help spread the history to those who don't know it. It's especially important to our organization as it was founded the same year as the massacre. As a historically white organization, we feel strongly that we need to be advocates as we focus always on including all artists and art lovers. We are grateful to the Real Rosewood Foundation for the opportunity to collaborate and host this important exhibition.
Awesome, awesome. And that's our same goal. Awesome. Together, we are stronger. Amen. And if you are interested in supporting the Real Rosewood Foundation, you can always go to www.rosewoodflorida.com, make a donation for scholarship, make a donation for the museum, and soon you can purchase your ticket, or the tickets will be on the Rosewood Foundation for our upcoming event March 9th, and it will also be on Eventbrite. We want you there. We're going to bring in future producers, movie makers. They will be there. We want everybody in that audience to be, have a picture or show their little faces in our movie. What is going to be so great about this movie, Pedro, and you already know it, it's going to be real. It's going to be us. It's going to be our story, okay? And it doesn't have to be professional actors and actresses. It's going to be real people, just like the Real Rosewood Foundation. We're looking forward to seeing you. Do you have any closing remarks, Pedro? Would you like to say anything else?
No, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, hopefully February 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Artist Reception for an elegy to Rosewood.
Perfect. I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Lizzie, Queen Lizzie. Until next time, and as Colin Ray says, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it.